Hello and welcome to the Filmageddon podcast. That is right, the Filmageddon podcast is back with me, Frank Soldato, aka the Quizmaster. And I'm not gonna lie, it feels like a while. It's been a while. And you know what? There's no real excuse other than the fact that life finds a way. Oh, no. Life gets in the way. That's it, yeah. So before we get into this special episode of the podcast, just wanted to talk about a few things, including the Filmageddon film quiz and the state of everything. So it's been a while since we've done a film quiz. We've not done one in 2018 yet, and we are in the middle to end of March. So a lot of people have been asking, when's the next quiz? And the short answer is, we don't know. And the reason behind that, I mean, there's a lot of reasons. One reason is we wanted to sort of take in the podcast to the shop, take a look under the hood, see what works, see what doesn't, and try to reinvent it a bit. The quiz has been going on we've done it for 4 years now. It's really fun to do, but it's also a lot of work. And, at first it was a really popular thing. We used to almost sell out the cinema every time. And, attendance has dropped, and we're trying to think, hey, I wonder why that is. For us, we would do the quiz for a handful of people, but it's a business at the end of the day where we do the quiz, and if we can't fill that cinema, it's sort of harder to say, hey, let us come in and take up your screen space for a while. So, we're trying to think, how can we get more people involved? Is it the day of the week? Is it the time of the month? Is it the format, the questions? So, we're having those discussions. The long and short of it is that the quiz will be back. I can't say when. It will be in the first half of the year, and hopefully once it's back, it'll be back for good and in a bit more regularity to it. The podcast, to be fair, it's been much of the same. Life getting in the way, all of us, the team, having a lot of stuff on their plate, jobs, life, everything, right? It's London. That's where we all live. We live in London. It's a fast-paced city. There's a lot of stuff to do, and stuff happens. But we're going to try to right that ship. For people that follow us on Twitter, which is @FilmageddonQuiz, you might know that we've started into the streaming world with the Chicken Boys, which is the newest upcoming esports sensation. Basically, we just play Fortnite online, and you can watch us and listen to us. It's entertaining. It's fun. But we will get back into podcasting, and this is the first step to that. And for a first step, we're doing a very special episode in which I took a plane ride recently, and it was a long one. It was about an 11-hour flight. And I was joined by my very special guest, Rob Heath, who you might know from past episodes of Shot for Shot, which you can find on Filmageddon's YouTube page. Knows a lot about film, is a big fan of Filmageddon and the podcast, and wants to be involved and have his say. And we were both stuck on this flight for a while, so we started to talk about movies on planes. Not movies set on planes, but the movies you watch while you're on a plane, because obviously it's an interesting surrounding that you're in to try to escape from. You watch films. So we got into that discussion, and over the course of the 11 hours, it was quite an interesting little chat that I've condensed down into about 50 minutes for you. So I hope you enjoy this episode of the Filmageddon podcast, the first of many to come. And keep an eye out on our Twitter @Filmageddon Quiz. And obviously, the Filmageddon Film Quiz will return, and we hope to see you all there who can make it. And guys, enjoy, and sorry that we've been so quiet recently, but that's about to change.
What's the difference between 35,000 feet and 40,000 feet?
It's going to be the air pressure.
5,000 feet, obviously.
You only normally climb to 40,000 when you're trying to avoid turbulence and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. God, so you really know a lot about this.
Well, when you're so terrified of flight like I am. So the reason why we're doing this is because we thought we'd talk about movies on aeroplanes.
And I don't know about you, Frank, but this is where I tend to watch the majority of my movies now. Certainly the ones that just I and not my partner want to watch.
Well, you do a lot of traveling.
Yes.
You do much more than me. So I think we're going to come at this from different ways. So let's start it off with the easy one. What sort of movies do you go for? What do you jump out? Like, what gets you?
Most of my colleagues would say that they prefer to watch trash and things that you can switch off on planes, which I kind of agree with to a certain extent. But then also, like, in what other situation do you have this kind of undivided attention to a screen? Not very often, you know. So I'd like somewhere in between, like nothing too heavy, although. And that's bullshit as well, because I've watched things like Room and stuff on planes.
There's Bruce. He doesn't want to talk. Do you want to?
Someone's giving us wanker signs. It's nice.
I thought it was like a blowjob thing. A double team. I get it.
Gave me a
See, I come at this from I like to distract myself because I'm not a big fan of flying. Much like Liam Neeson in that movie where he says, "I hate flying."
So does that not mean also, though, that like me, then you want to watch something that you're engrossed in? Because what's more distracting than being...
Yes, in a sense, yeah. And it also, I find it also depends a lot on sort of the plane and the setup you've got. So like right now we're on a British Airways flight. We've got a fairly decent sized screen, very nice picture, a really good selection. My last flight I was on was a United flight, and the screen was very small, and it was like the same 5 movies, and you could barely see it at just the right angle. So it was, it's harder to find something there. So for that flight, like I was telling you beforehand, I watched Home Alone twice. I watched half of Kingsman, like the new one. I was in and out. Whereas this one, there's a really good selection, and you can sort of get more engrossed in it because, good audio, good picture.
Well, and really new film. In some cases, films that are in the cinema at the moment.
Yeah, let's take a look here. New releases, I mean.
Well, there's lots of Oscar bait on here,
yeah.
Which is a good thing, because the Oscar-nominated films this year...
And the Oscars
for the ones I've
happened.
seen, they have happened, but the ones I've seen have all been good, pretty much.
So, big ones on here, Call Me By Your Name, which won Best Adapted Screenplay.
Yes,
Darkest Hour, Gary Oldman won Best Actor. Shape of Water, obviously, that won Best
Picture,
Things.
Best Director.
And Atomic Blonde won Best Movie Ever, I think it was.
That was Predator, wasn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of good films on here. So we've each watched one up to this point. So what was your first one that you went for?
I watched Battle of the Sexes, which is something I've been wanting to watch since I first heard about it. Quite appropriate, given that we are on our way to a tennis tournament.
Tennis.
And it's probably the most interesting story ever told in tennis, and quite a timely story at the moment, with Me Too and Time's Up and things like that going on, and about the pioneer that is Billie Jean King.
Well, I watched it on actually the flight on United, so unlike this, I had no control over it. So I basically had to sit there for the 2 hours that it lasted. It was fine. I was really into the movie, but again, sort of bad sound, bad picture. I didn't have control. I couldn't pause it when the food was coming, things like that. Sort of made it a bad viewing experience, but I still was able to appreciate the movie itself because it's very good.
It is very good, and it's Steve Carell, who just seems to not be able to do any wrong at the moment in terms of roles he takes and in terms of way he inhabits roles. I think that was a very good performance, also by Emma Stone as well. Not really a bad turn amongst it. I thought Bill Pullman was very good playing the loathsome Jack Kramer. It's just I mean, I'm a big fan of biopics, and I'm a big fan of kind of period stuff, 20th century period stuff, I would say, 60s and 70s particularly. I just love, you can really have fun with kind of things like wardrobe and makeup and set design and things like that. And yeah, I mean, I didn't know a lot about the Battle of Sexes. I have, name drop alert, I have met and interviewed Billie Jean King once, so I can't claim to know her or anything, but she is a very lovely woman. But yeah, a great performance by Emma Stone, and it's not earth-shatteringly brilliant, but does exactly what you want from a good pace to, if it's over a certain amount of time, I like a good pace to a biopic as well.
I was surprised it didn't get any sort of award season buzz.
Especially with things like wardrobe and, like,
Yeah.
I mean, given that one of the main characters is a hairdresser, and there's lots of kind of focus on
Big hair,
on hair.
stuff like that.
Interesting.
Now, for all those reasons that you gave, period picture, good, a biopic, all that, those are the exact reasons I went with Hitman's Bodyguard as my first film, because
They've hilariously parodied on the poster the Bodyguard poster, haven't they? Whereby Ryan Reynolds is cradling Samuel L. Jackson, much like Kevin Costner does Whitney Houston.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it now. But yeah, there you go. It was...
For the benefit of the listeners at home, here's the poster.
Yeah, take a look at it. It was mediocre. Yeah, it was billed as an action comedy. There was a lot of action, a lot of big set pieces, but the comedy was kind of lacking.
I mean, surely mediocre is an improvement upon what you were expecting, was it? I mean, it's got absolutely...
I'm a big fan of Ryan Reynolds, and the whole Samuel L. Jackson shtick. I can take or leave, but I thought those two might have some good interactions. Sort of left me wanting. There wasn't a lot of funny bits. I was expecting more of a comedy. There's some good, there are some good bits. I chuckled to myself once or twice, and Selma Hayek pops up in it and is looking lovely. So, I mean, I want to go somewhere up after this film, because...
Do you like to, if you're on a long haul flight like this is 10 hours, do you like to kind of build up in terms of the quality of the film you watch? So you've eased yourself into watching something good, for want of a better word.
Something okay. So like, I think what I'll probably do is I'll jump into a big film that I want to see. I think I might do 3 Billboards next. But then after that, I'd probably go into something I've seen a couple of times that is just easy to have on. So like, if I want to close my eyes and just have it playing, like I know what's going on, I don't have to pay attention too much. Because after the next film, we'll be about halfway through the flight, and then everything gets a bit wonky. It's like, it's starting to get a bit stir crazy. I don't want to sit here staring at the screen anymore. So I've only got maybe 1.5 films left in me that I could pay attention to.
You're right, and I should do that more. And quite often I just see all these films I want to see, especially by this point in the year, because like usually this first tournament of the year for me, and I haven't done much flying since the back end of last year, so there's usually a kind of backlog of films I want to see. So I just go gung-ho and then end up not sleeping and being knackered or falling asleep during a film that I haven't seen, and maybe I should take a leaf out of your book.
So what are you going to go for next, do you think?
I'm going to go for Professor Marston and the Wonder Women.
You've made your choice.
Well, again, a period biopic about the creator of Wonder Woman and about his bondage fetish.
Which we all have, to a degree.
To a certain extent.
And then you're going to watch Victoria and Abdul. Yeah.
I mean, if there was... I doubt Victoria and Abdul is a bad film, but I can't be asked. I mean, if it was a choice between that and Hitman's Bodyguard, I'd watch that.
Did you watch Thor yet?
I did. I watched it on another flight, actually.
Did you enjoy it?
A few weeks ago on the way to Korea. Yeah, I absolutely loved it.
It might have been my favourite Marvel film, so I was thinking about maybe trying to watch that again as my go-to.
It's a good idea. I'd put it high up there in terms of kind of recent Marvel, the new MCU or whatever it's called. I'd put it up there, maybe at number 2 behind Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay.
First one.
Yeah.
Are you saying it's better than Guardians of the Galaxy?
I think I'd watch it again over Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
We have Todd here.
Hello. This is Todd Nelson. I'm on an aeroplane.
Todd, what films have you watched?
Yeah, what films have you watched?
Just documentaries at the moment. I'm just watching a bit of Gold Rush, Discovery Channel.
There you go. Gold Rush, is it good?
Why are we using this microphone today?
We're making a podcast about films on planes. This is going to have the highest listenership yet.
I thought everyone who's ever been to the Prince Charles Cinema listens to this podcast.
I wish. I wish. I was thinking about maybe watching Death of Stalin as well.
I have seen Death of Stalin and can say it's very good. It won't be the barrel of laughs you might expect it to be. It is very funny.
If I'm going to laugh, it needs to be a barrel full.
It's very funny, but there's a few kind of punches to the gut as well.
Okay.
Grim.
What's your thoughts on TV on planes? Do you ever dive into those
Yes,
to fill
I
those gaps?
I always watch Veep, and Veep is always on British Airways.
Is Veep on here?
Yep, it is. I think Series 6.
I was thinking, again, going back to my watching something I've watched and enjoyed, dipping into a bit of Alan Partridge later.
Oh yeah, good idea. I actually remember watching Scissor Dial on a plane and laughing uncontrollably. Speaking of uncontrollable emotions on planes, Frank, do you suffer from ALS, altitude adjusted lacrimosity syndrome?
I have no idea what that is.
It's something infinitely discussed on another film podcast, and it's crying at movies on planes. That's something I do a lot, like even pathetically at stupid. Like I've been known to
Cars 2.
I've been known to cry at He's Just Not That Into You. Yes, I know. Yeah, that bad.
I'm trying to think. Like, I definitely have like teared up at things, but then I tend to be quite a wimp when I'm watching films just in my house. Like,
Yeah.
I sometimes get that uncontrollable like chest of like.
Yeah,
like,
I'm
for no
more and
reason.
more and more like that, and
I
certainly
got a bit
on
of that in
planes.
The Shape of Water. Like, there was a couple of seconds there when I was like, oh, this could go over the edge. I need to stop this. Need to stop it. Take a deep breath. Okay, keep watching. It goes fine then.
I mean, I made reference to it slightly earlier. A few years ago, I watched Room on the plane, which, you know,
Were you just like a mess by
tough.
the end of it?
I was a complete, well, not even by the end, but about like fucking 20 minutes in or so. There's an elderly couple sat next to me, and the man genuinely asked if I was okay.
Wow.
I mean, I defy anyone to watch that film and not cry anyway, but on a plane, definitely. What do you think it is about being on a plane that might make you want to cry?
I think you're just so sad to be next to the rest of these people because, like, as we saw when we were waiting to leave, we are with a section of the public who don't know how to board airplanes properly, they don't know how to load overhead bins properly. Sometimes you get a nice hairy gut in your face when you're just trying to sit there. I mean, it's the dregs of human society, and we're part of them. I mean, people thinking the same about us, really. You know, we're obnoxious people, but for us, right now, I'm very sad to be here next to people that I wouldn't give the time of day in the street.
Yes, moving swiftly on. Something else I wanted to ask you about watching films on planes. Do you ever get distracted by a film that somebody else is watching?
Yes, I've done it the entire time so far as somebody's watching Justice League in front of me. And I saw
You were
Justice
distracted
League.
by Justice League.
Yeah, I saw Justice League in the cinemas,
Better
and
watch
I fell
without
asleep
sound,
in it.
presumably.
Yeah. Like, I'm just looking at the visuals because I went to the cinema like opening. No, it was a couple days after opening weekend, but fell asleep for about 40 minutes of it. Really, really disliked it, and yeah, my eye just keeps slipping. But I always tend to. My eyes wander.
Even though I was really enjoying Battle of the Sexes, somebody on a row in front of me was watching 3 Billboards, and without giving you any spoilers, there's a particularly famous, infamous scene involving Sam Rockwell and Caleb Landry-Jones, all kind of done in one take as a follow shot. It's brilliant, and once I could tell that every time I looked up, he's getting closer and closer to that scene. I'm going to watch that scene without sound when that bit comes on. Pause my film and just watched it in its beauty, and even without sound, it looks great.
Do you want to watch it? Do you want me to tap on your shoulder when it gets to that part in my film?
Well, I don't. Where you're sat in relation to where I'm sat, I won't be able to watch it particularly well unless I stay in this seat.
How long into the film is it? I'll look out for it.
It's quite early. I think it's about half an hour in, 25 minutes in.
So they're only on the first billboard still.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how it works.
That's yeah, the 3-act structure. So I think that's a good start. Maybe we should watch another film or two and then reconvene in a few hours after we've been on this plane for ages and see how we're feeling then. Because I think we're still in a chipper mood, but with these long haul flights, that tends to degrade.
And also, I think at this point, I mean, it's important to know that how long have we been on here for now? About 2.5 hours, 3?
Yeah, it'll be going on 3.
Of a 10-hour flight-ish. And we're going to Dallas, so we're currently still somewhere over the Atlantic.
Yeah.
So-
I think we're getting close there to like Nova Scotia and all that. Oh no, we're not.
No, we're not.
Yeah, and then once we get to Dallas, we've got another 3-hour flight ahead of us. And I don't know, hopefully there'll be some entertainment on that flight. But that might be the flight where I just try to pass out.
Well, that's where iPads and iPods and books come into play. Do you ever find yourself downloading stuff for your iPad as a backup in case the choice is so terrible, or just if you know that you want to watch? So I like to always give the airline first shout, if that makes sense, and then and then if it's terrible, I've always got some Netflix downloaded.
Yeah, I prepped for this one. Like I knew the entertainment systems would be all right, but I took my girlfriend's tablet and loaded it up with a few seasons of The Simpsons, and I think what's that Michael Keaton American Assassin, is it?
Oh, that's supposed to be bad. I don't know.
I'd give it the time of day for Michael Keaton, but it's probably not that good. It didn't really get a lot of good buzz about it. But yeah, I try to get some backups, especially having been burnt on a lot of international flights before.
I mean, Keaton is doing well at the moment. I really liked him in Spider-Man, and also another film I watched on a plane last year, The Founder.
The Founder, I love The Founder.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and kind of wasn't
such like a despised, like an easily despisable character. Like, I mean, there's nothing to like about his character really.
But he played it well, so that you could at least invest in his character.
Yeah.
And also, this is going back. It's becoming a theme. It's set in the 60s. There's a lot of food porn in it. You know, back when McDonald's made, desirable hamburgers.
I mean, I still like a McDonald's.
Well, yeah, every now and then.
I had 3 McDonald's when I was in Portugal.
Oh,
it was very depressing.
I found Lisbon to be one of culinary favourite cities in Europe.
If I'd went with my girlfriend and it was just us, we would have done that whole thing and loved it. But because it was like 8 guys, we went to like the Time Out food hall, had some food there. I think we got one real like Portuguese meal, and the rest of it was like Mackies and like little cafe type things.
Some of you at least had some sardines. Famous.
Oh yeah, I bought a couple tins to bring back. We went to this famous sardine bar. Now it's a tangent, but I did watch a film while I was there. As I said, I watched Black Panther,
which
was great. Except when I saw all the Wakandan subtitled bits were in Portuguese, so that I missed some bits with the dad, some plot development, and some heartfelt bits. But anyway,
it took you a long time to realise Forrest Whitaker was the bloke from the beginning.
Oh yeah, and yeah, I was like, oh hey, what's going on here? I was surprised. Good film. I don't know where. I think it would be in the middle for me for the MCU. I don't think it was the end all be all like a lot of people are saying. But
I just like that it was this big kind of leap into something different, and they didn't play it safe at all, did they?
There's still things with those, like all those films feel the same now. Like, if they all feel like here's your big CGI bits, and like here's a CGI rhino, and it never feels like real anymore. Like back at the original Iron Man and stuff, things felt tangible in those worlds, and now it's like, whoa, here's Wakanda, and it's this crazy looking thing.
It is a problem I have with CGI in general, and that's one of my big bones to pick with that film, is that there was some particularly crap CGI. Given how well Marvel have done it in recent years, the car chase scene in Busan was pretty awful.
Yeah, the jumping around between like cars,
and that could have been really good with the neon lights and the how that could have looked aesthetically, and they kind of wasted it.
I feel like it could be shot in a different way. Like, as good as the film was, like subject matter and all that, like they need a new way of shooting those films, because they all do look like they're shot by the same DOP, and like the directors could be interchangeable if you didn't see some of their little touches here or there.
Yeah, absolutely, I would agree with that, and I think they'll be right to kind of brush it all to one side after Infinity War and
start again.
Yeah.
That opens soon as well.
That's in May, isn't it?
No, April, end of April.
I'm intrigued as to how they're going, because traditionally, as soon as you introduce loads of characters into a comic book film, it struggles.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking of the kind of later X-Men films, and as much as I love the X-Men, you know, they really even in X2, which is great, they really struggled with the amount of characters. I think the second Avengers movie, which is low down on my MCU list, I thought
Both the Avengers movies, I don't really rate that. I rate the second one stronger than the first one.
Really, I liked the first one, and the second one I just found. I mean,
I love James Spader.
I hated Aaron Taylor-Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen, and
They were terrible.
Those two characters. I mean, at least he died, but we still have to put up with her for another movie. And that's not good.
And her hunky Paul Bettany now as well.
Yeah, I mean he's fine.
He's there. He's hanging around.
It'll be interesting. I'm just about, because I caught up with a load of them recently, watched Out of Order, but there were loads that I haven't seen, and now I have a bit of a renewed appreciation for it now. I really enjoyed Spider-Man: Homecoming, and that's quite high up.
I love that. I think
Quite high up for me, and enjoyed films a bit more than I thought I was going to, like Civil War and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, Civil War was the best Avengers movie, I thought.
The Thor
Hot
films,
take.
apart from the third one, are the weak link for me.
Yeah.
I just don't. I think he's just generally a weaker character.
Well, that's why when they made him funny, it worked. But anyway, should we say we'll take a pause and we'll touch base again in a few hours' time?
Sounds good, Frank. And not a second too soon, because I can't stand to be sat this close to you.
Good. Bye. Dialogue here. So we are back. Some time has passed. About, I'd say, nearly 4 or 5 hours. We've each watched 2 films in that time.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's about 5, I'd say. Currently flying over Milwaukee.
Milwaukee, en route to Dallas. Another 2 hours or so. That's, enough time to. I'm probably done with films for this leg of the journey. I think
so. Yeah, I want to save some for the way back.
Yeah, I keep forgetting about that. Because, I sort of burned through all the good ones on the way there.
I always do the same thing. I just came back from Korea, and I did that exact thing. They had a much worse selection on Korean Air films to watch. I watched 3 on the way out, the 3 that I really wanted to see, and there's nothing I really fancied on the way back.
What were the 3 you saw?
Thor Ragnarok, Logan Lucky, and Wind River.
Okay.
But the problem with something else I wanted to mention about films on flights is that certain airlines edit things heavily, like take lots of stuff out.
Is that what Korean Airways did?
Well, they took out, rightly or wrongly, they took out the big, I'm imagining there's a big rape scene in Wind River, which was almost completely gutted out. At least that's what it looked like. And a lot of kind of swearing and stuff out, so it kind of ruins it a little bit. Not that I'm hell-bent on watching rape scenes or anything, but that's part of the film.
I'm wondering what Shape of Water would look like on the plane, on BA. I don't, because...
Well, the guy in front of you is watching it.
Yeah. It gets... there's some violent bits in there. So, at the 3 films I watched, though, I don't think anything was edited.
No, British Airways are good, and that's what I was going to say. British Airways are good at not really changing anything. And they used to take anything when there was ever aircraft in trouble, they always used to take out. But now they just give a warning about it.
I had that, I forget if it was a BA flight, but I was about to watch that film Spy on a flight.
Oh, Spy,
and it said, warning, this film contains airline peril, so I didn't watch it.
And I had the same thing with Bridge of Spies. Have you seen that?
I have seen Bridge of Spies.
Famous.
I saw that on my United flights.
Yeah.
That was a great film.
That was really good, yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
One of Tom Hanks' best, I think.
Well, let's talk about the films we just watched. So, what did you kick off with? What was your second film?
My second film was Professor Marston and the Wonder Women, which I think I talked about before we broke. It was something I was interested in because it's like the origin story of the guy, the origin story of Wonder Woman. Weird, but it's nothing
to do with Wonder Woman.
Well, no, nothing and everything. There's so much to say about this film. I would retrospectively stick it in my top 10 for last year now. I enjoyed it that much. I always like it when you come out of a film and there's lots to talk about. Now, because you haven't seen it, we can't bounce ideas off each other. I mean, one thing I was, lots of themes in terms of kind of perversion and kind of sexual, like
because it's like bond. The guy who made it has like bondage, right? He loves it.
Now he was
loves a bit of it.
Him and his wife are psychologists at Harvard, and the film's basically like about this experiment they wanted to do with this one student who, and then it's kind of ambiguous, whether they fall in. They end up having this reciprocal three-way relationship, which is very obviously for the times that it's set. It's set in the 1920s and 30s, so they get shunned by their neighbours, but there's always this kind of ambiguity as to like whether is he just a bigamist and these people are under their spell, because it keeps talking about like these themes of inducement, submission, domination, and
all the things you think of when you think of Wonder Woman.
Compliance, and trying to talk about like the differences between those things and which things are voluntary and which things are. And in the end, I think, you kind of. I mean, there's a great bit where his wife says, "Stop using science to justify the whim of your cock," and it's kind of
a good line.
You kind of think that, like, is he just basically something? Is he just a sex crazed pervert, or is it? But they all seem they're both two women are on the same page as him. And anyway, he uses, like he in a time where obviously talking about the sexes, where you've got this kind of second wave feminism. This is going back now to the kind of 1.5 wave feminism, and like he is a kind of self-proclaimed feminist, as is his wife and as is the other woman, and then he takes what he loves about them and what he loves about the ideas of submission and bondage, and turns it into Wonder Woman. And this is all true. And then obviously there was a kind of backlash, and it chops in between what was actually happening and what and him kind of on trial by the Decency Brigade or whatever.
Well, like if this was happening today, he'd be right in there with Harvey Weinstein, wouldn't he?
No, well, no, I don't think, because it is all it's all consensual. And they would,
so
they did
he never
after,
creeps onto somebody
he
who
died.
doesn't.
He died just after the war, and the two women
Syphilis,
stayed together.
was it?
Stayed together until like one of them died in the 80s and one of them died in the 90s.
So they were in a three-way relationship. He died, and then the women stayed together.
And then the weird thing is that like he fathered children with both of them, and they all kind of grew up in the same house. Yeah, very odd. One thing I have to say, brilliant performances. Luke Evans, who for me has to be the next James Bond, absolutely has to be. He's great. Even better is Rebecca Hall, who increasingly just can't do anything wrong. And I think kind of criminally overlooked for not getting a nomination for Christine in the Oscars, which was one of my favourite films from last year.
You've got a lot of favourite films from last year.
But it was a good year. 2017 was a good year for films, and kind of highlighted by Professor Marston and the Wonder Women. You should definitely see it. Maybe save it for the way back.
It might be a ride back because, I don't know. It doesn't jump out at me, but then not a lot of the films I end up liking in the end do immediately jump out at me as ones that I want to see.
Do you like films with lesbian sex scenes?
I can be won over. Yeah.
Well, for that alone, watch it for that, and then like the rest of the film. I think.
Okay. So there you go. That's 2 thumbs 40,000 feet up, I think. So my second film was a film that we talked about as well, and it was 2 billboards over Ebbing, Missouri.
Ebbing Forest.
Yeah, Ebbing Forest. Yeah, Ebbing. I really enjoyed that.
Did you like the scene? Did you know the scene that I was?
Was it the thumb scene, or was it the
scene where he throws
him out the window?
Throws him out the window.
Spoiler alert for an Oscar-winning film. Yeah, so that was rough. I mean, everybody said so many good things about it, and I just agree with it all. Like, all the performances were great. I liked how there wasn't really a character you rooted for. Like they were all pretty bad in their own ways.
Exactly, and they all have arcs. And it
Yeah.
just kind of accurately represents what people are actually like.
Yeah, it felt like real life. And I was happy to see some interesting character actors show up, such as Sam Rockwell's mom.
Yes.
Which, if you watched
She-
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia,
Oh, and isn't she also in Napoleon Dynamite? She's the aunt in Napoleon Dynamite.
yeah. She's great. But yeah, Sam Rockwell's performance was great.
Deserved Oscar for you?
I mean, I've seen other Sam Rockwell performances that I've liked as well. This sort is weirdly, it
Considering
seemed
who he
like
was up against, would you? Who was he?
who was he up against? Yeah, for
I'm
supporting
forgetting.
actor. He had Richard Jenkins,
Yeah.
probably. I mean, he reminded me a lot of his character from The Green Mile, strangely,
Okay.
for the first like 2/3 of that film, because he was sort of racist redneck from the South, and he was a really sort of vile character. And then like the last third of the film, it's like, okay, I like you now. You're all right.
Where did you stand on the letters? Now that's something that's divided audiences because a lot of people hated that and that ruined the film for a lot of people. I personally really liked it.
I like the
thought
letters.
he pitched it just right. Hudson McDonough, in the fact that like that could have been cheesy and awful, but I think just got it on the right side. What's that noise?
It was a sneeze. I thought the letters were fine. I did think, the first one was really hard hitting and everything, and then when it happened again, I was a bit like, oh, okay, this is going to be a thing. And then it happened a third time, I was like, oh, they're really going in for this. Like, I didn't hate it, but I don't think I was like, I think I could have been happy leaving it at the one, and then maybe having another character read one out loud, or just seeing it and like a slow scroll to actually be able to read it. Because weirdly, like, I didn't like how they recorded Woody Harrelson's voice for it, because it just sounded like, it didn't sound like the normal way you'd go about that. It just sounded like he was in a room, almost like he was
on a plane.
Yeah, and on a plane. There was a weird hum in the background. People just were constantly sort of milling about, trying to stop themselves from getting deep vein thrombosis. People were just taking others' bags out and leaving them on in the aisleway just for fun.
I tell you, one of my favourite bits of that film was the kind of best acted bit of the film was her Frances McDormand having her flashbacks of the last time she saw her daughter. And it really kind of qualifies why she's such a woman on a mission. And it's all about kind of self-blame, isn't it? Because basically the last thing she said to her daughter was something to the effect of, I hope you fucking die. I mean, you saw it.
I hope you get raped.
Yeah, is that what she said?
Yeah.
There you go.
Who was the ex-husband's girlfriend? Because she looked exactly like a young Denise Richards.
Yes.
She's not from Modern Family.
I think she's Australian.
Okay.
Because I think she looks like Margot Robbie, and she's Australian.
Oh no, you're talking about Woody Harrelson's wife.
No. She is Australian. That's Abby Cornish.
Okay.
Is
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the I am talking about the Zoo Girl.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure she is Australian. I mean, I might be wrong about that, but
I did not. I was a bit jolted by Woody Harrelson's wife with the accent.
Yeah. Anyway, I think good film.
It was it probably would be in my top 10. There was no part of it I didn't like. One of the things I do when I'm on a plane a lot is constantly check the duration of time I've got left. And I didn't really do that for that film at all. I was just sunk in. Okay.
Deserved Oscar for Frances McDormand, last word on that.
But then who was she up against?
She was up against Margot Robbie and Sally Hawkins and
Sally Hawkins didn't even need to say anything.
Saoirse Ronan.
Well, given all that, I've not seen Lady Bird. I've seen Shape of Water. What was the other one? I, Tonya. She deserved it. Yeah, it was a very strong performance. It didn't seem like anything completely out of her wheelhouse. Whereas when Gary Oldman won, it was trying to do something completely different. So sort of both deserved, which leads me to my next film I watched, which was Darkest Hour.
Now I'm really really very reluctant to see it, but tell me why I should see it, Frank, or should I see it?
Well, we're going to come from different worlds here because obviously you've got, you're from Britain and you've got that history side to you. Me, I like the idea of history. I like thinking about the past from time to time. I like Gary Oldman, and since he won the Oscar, I thought I'd give it a chance. It was my second Gary Oldman film of the flight because he was in Hitman's Bodyguard. So I thought he could maybe do something better than that. The thing that stood out a lot was that you lose Gary Oldman. Like, you don't think of him as Gary Oldman for the film, which is a big win, because a lot of times with something like that, under makeup, you sort of always catch the actor underneath, and I thought Gary Oldman did a great job.
He usually does, doesn't he?
Yeah. I mean, he commits. Apparently did he get some sort of, like, tobacco poisoning for how much he was smoking?
Oh, really? Well, see, I mean, I don't think I'd be able to fault his performance by all accounts. It is brilliant. I don't know.
It's very well directed. It's directed by Joe Wright, which I was surprised to see.
Now he is. What did he do? Period dramas and stuff, doesn't he?
I thought he did a couple like sort of action-y films. So I thought when I saw his name, I thought it was like a change of pace. But I need to check his IMDb to be fair. I think at first I was thinking he was Joe Cornish, and I was like, no, that's not him.
Definitely not Joker. That would have been a very different film.
Yeah, it's stylistically it's done really well. The characters are interesting. Ben Mendenhall in it.
That's the other thing. I love Ben Mendelsohn, and
he's actually not a villain for once.
It's funny that those two are in the same film because I think Ben Mendelsohn is the heir to the Gary Oldman throne. I think you can draw a lot of comparisons between the way those two act. Both brilliant at playing villains, obviously. I love Ben Mendelsohn. Like, he was my
good.
Favourite.
He only pops up a couple of times, but he plays the king. Does really well. You can believe it. It was really good. The way it told the story, it went through by day throughout May of whatever year it was when Dunkirk happened. That was the other cool thing. I was like, you could splice this in with Dunkirk very easily and make a 4-hour-long film. I don't know if you'd want to sit and watch it, but I would say Gary Oldman probably deserved the Oscar. I would say the film itself was definitely a winner.
The controversial scene with this one that got people's backs up was the Churchill on the tube. Lots of people hated that scene.
Yeah, why? Just because it was like...
Just incredibly unrealistic and,
that was the one part that took you out of it. Like, the rest of the time, and that was sort of right towards the end. That was like the spur of like the big speech and all that sort of thing, like, we won't surrender. I escape in it because I don't know the history behind it. And for me, it's like, it's an entertaining film and a lesson. But I enjoyed it.
But is it that much of a lesson? I'm sure they probably play quite fast and loose with history, don't they?
I wouldn't know. We didn't learn a lot of British history.
Have you seen Churchill, the Brian Cox film from last year?
No.
No, so I haven't seen it either. But another 2 more films in a long line of films that come out at the same time about the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really see a lot about... I remember seeing a lot about Churchill, like advertisements and stuff, but I don't remember seeing a lot about Darkest Hour until after the fact, where it was like, oh, Gary Oldman's going to get nominated for an Oscar.
And as so often happens with Oscar-nominated films, I think they don't like people kind of revisit them. They'll get kind of lost at the cinema first time around if they don't come out during award season.
Yeah.
They'll get kind of and it came out around Christmas as well, didn't it? And so kind of got missed. Swamped with the
Star
Last
Wars
Jedi, so
but give it a watch maybe on the trip back, I would say.
I'm probably not going to. I mean,
What if I told you there was also lesbian sex scenes in it?
But there isn't.
There might be.
No, there isn't. I don't think that kid's...
Churchill's wife's there running around.
Who plays Churchill's wife? Kristen Scott Thomas?
Yes.
And is she good?
She's not really in it that long, but yeah, I thought a very attractive older lady.
Well, she always was, wasn't she? In Four Weddings and a Funeral, etc.
Etc. And Lily Collins, I think. running
James.
around. Lily James. Who was in? Was she Cinderella?
No, that was Lily Collins.
Oh.
Lily Collins is Phil Collins' daughter.
Oh well, there you go.
Lily James is from Baby Driver and Cinderella.
Learning things. That's what we do here. Right. What was your second film?
My second film was It. Finally watched It. And then having never...
it good?
Yeah, it was good, but not for the reasons that it should have been, if that makes sense.
What were you looking for, and
Well,
what did it deliver?
I was looking to be scared, and I
It's
wasn't.
not a scary film.
No, and and I've heard this, and it was more. I kind of would compare it, and this is a good thing, to like a kind of Joe Dante kind of type thriller. So in it, the kind of like Gremlins or The Hole or that kind of thing, brilliantly realised. Like all the imagery was brilliant, and the costumes, location, set design, all those things were brilliant. I thought the bits that were genuinely actually scary were the horrible adults. So almost
terrible.
Almost every single one.
Every adult's a horrible
obviously
person doing terrible things.
Beverly's dad is a horrible. The horrible kind of winks to kind of child abuse and things like that.
Was it the pharmacist as well?
That was the creepiest bit of the whole lot. Saying you look like Lois Lane. Just got absolutely disgusting. But kind of they just got that right, because that could have been quite frivolous kind of paedophilia, which wouldn't have. I think they just about kind of salvaged that from being disgusting. Good, good performances by the cat. But the bits I really loved that I thought were odd were the bits on the TV where they're watching the TV, and it's kind of the woman singing with the kids on the step. Yeah,
when they go into the fat kid's house.
Yeah.
I like the projector scene as well. The little slide projector.
The projector scene is brilliant. Yeah, and the all the scenes with the weedy kid's awful mum, when he makes him take all the medication.
Oh yeah.
And it's a little bit kind of Roald Dahl in that respect as well. Like the grotesque kind of horrible adults.
What do you think of the use of CG, as we were talking
Good,
about earlier?
And actually really good. And usually I hate. Well, as you know, I don't hate, but usually I find it kind of badly utilised.
I thought some of it was really good, but then some of it was a bit pants, like the painting lady. I wasn't a big fan of. Yeah,
I suppose. Yeah, that bit didn't work. All the kind of Pennywise stuff worked.
Pennywise stuff was good.
The kind of
the practical.
The bit where she's getting pulled into the sink is great with the
That's
hair.
good. The leper is really good.
Yeah.
What was the?
But they used that right, because they were using it in a kind of like cartoony, gothic kind of way. There's an element of kind of Tim Burton to it as well.
So I think
that's the right way to not. CGI is always worse when they're trying to make something look realistic, whereas when when it's obviously not, when it's from the kind of the kind of twisted and the kind of macabre, and it works like that.
There's really the imagery's really hard. It's harsh, and it's harsh from the beginning. What do you think of the opening scene? Because obviously you know what's going to happen, but I did not expect it to play out like that.
Yeah, and that was the only scene I ever saw from the Tim Curry version from 1990. Biting his arm off and all that.
And just crawling away with it, bleeding behind him.
Yeah, and because it's also explicit, it isn't scary.
Oh yeah, and they don't even. What I do like though. So yeah, none of it was super scary. You're almost like the fears brought up by the situations and everything else around them. But what was good was they didn't try to do cheap jump scares for the most part as well.
Actually, there was one bit where I did jump, and it was a Pennywise moment. I've already forgotten what it was. I think it's a bit where he's holding her up.
Okay. I really like that scene.
That was the only time I did it. Loved the fat kid. Loved the bully who looked so much like River Phoenix in Stand By Me. It was scary.
his story arc was nuts as well.
Quite a lot like Stand By Me as well, wasn't it? There are lots of, parallels to draw between those two. Those
Are you
films.
looking forward to the sequel that will be set
Like,
in modern day?
Is it definitely going to happen?
Yeah.
Because that would be good.
Yeah, they're casting it now.
My wife is currently reading the book. Well, I say currently, it's
That book's a long one.
It's massive. So she's just kind of reading it over the course of months or years, and like going into other books. And
So
going
she
back
starts
to
it as a kid and finish it when she's an adult, much like
yeah, exactly that. But it, and she describes it as like an anthology of stories, and the bit
Did you see the original?
No, only the little bit. But apparently it was a mini series, wasn't it, that they turned into a film? Which is why it was so
mini
long.
series in America, and then I think a film or two in the UK, maybe.
Yeah, it's like a 3.5 hour jobby or something.
It's not really good. People just tend to think about it in high regard for Tim Curry. He's not really in it that long. Creepy imagery, but it does. Like, I will look forward to the sequel as like it all plays out with adults and apparently flashbacks to when they're kids. So the kids will be back in like a diminished role, and then it's seeing like there's a lot of good speculation online, like who'd play
Who's
the adults.
Gonna play who? Yeah.
I thought the entire film when I was watching it, I thought Beverly was Amy Adams. I was like, that's young Amy Adams. But
That
everyone
works.
else online says Jessica Chastain.
No, I don't think I'd go with Amy Adams.
It's Amy Adams. There you have it. But apparently,
the eyes, isn't it?
Yeah.
That girl looks like she could be Amy Adams' daughter.
Yeah. And the problem is, well, not the problem. It'll happen one way or another. But the director, he was the guy who directed Mama, which had Jessica Chastain.
Yeah.
So they're already entering talks to get her in. But there's like a lot, like the kid who the mom wants to keep safe with the medicine and everything. People are being like, Adam Scott should play him, and there's lots of good like fan castings online. It'll be fun to see how it all plays out.
One thing I will say about the cast, interesting how the kid from Stranger Things manages to be as annoying as he is in Stranger Things, but in a completely different way.
It's a charming way. I love him.
But it makes me no.
Do you not like Finn Wolfhard?
No, he's awful. Like he's awful in that, and he's awful in Stranger Things. But just in Stranger Things, he's just an annoying, stroppy kid.
More so in the second season than the first.
Well, there's a whole heap of things wrong with the second season for it. But yeah,
but not Paul Reiser.
No, I mean there are good things about the second season, obviously, and he's one of them.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're not talking about Stranger Things. In this, you just want to tell him to shut the fuck up. I liked all the other kids. Didn't like him. I genuinely wanted him to die.
Because you could tell he was the conduit for the writer or writers to get all their like cool hip adult jokes in that they wanted to. They're like, right, all the other kids have to be realistic. We've got the one here who's going to speak for the adults, and like, you know, he's going to swear and do all that. So let's just chuck everything we've got at him. It's a
I think it was quite. I liked the girl bully as well. I thought
Which one was the girl bully?
The one who's like the daughter of the pharmacist.
Oh,
she
yeah.
tips the rubbish all over Beverly's head, doesn't she?
She didn't really have. She sort of just disappeared at some point.
She writes loser on the
cast. It was good cast. So solid film.
Yeah, I did enjoy it. It's a little bit too long. But then a lot of films are nowadays. But then the book is long.
I mean,
but they only really covered half the book, or some of the book, didn't they?
Probably like a fourth of the book or something.
That was a quarter.
So do you think you had 3 wins for this flight?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I enjoyed all of them. The best one was Professor Marston, because and I always kind of. I always kind of judge these things on like how long I'm going to be thinking about them after I see them. How long I'm going to be thinking about them, how long I'm going to be talking about them and working them out. And that's going to keep me thinking for a long time.
Will you watch it again soon?
I'd like to watch it with my wife actually, because I'm sure she would love it. I will be advising that she watches it.
Very good, very good.
The other two were just kind of straight down the line. Thought I was going to like them, did like them.
Yeah.
They didn't do much beyond that.
So you're not
both good films.
You're not dipping into another one for the last hour and 40 minutes. What about on the next flight? You gonna try to get one in if there is entertainment, or are you gonna go to sleep?
Well, what's left? We've got Detroit. Assuming it's the same films on the way back. We've got Detroit. We've got Shape of Water. Those are probably the two I'll go for. Although I might need something a bit kind of easier to G myself up for.
I know. I was.
The Spielberg documentary. I want to watch that. I'll definitely watch
where
that.
did that air? Was that an HBO thing?
It's HBO. Yeah.
I think I would have to go into like a classic comedy. I don't know, that's television. Yeah, I'll watch a couple episodes of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, I reckon. But yeah, so we've each watched 3 films. Good films. Maybe not The Hitman's Bodyguard. Definitely not The Hitman's Bodyguard.
Oh, I'm looking at Call Me By Your Name as well. I'll probably watch that on the way back.
I don't think I could watch that on a plane. But maybe I'd watch Dad's Army.
That's an odd one to kind of drop in amongst the other. You've just got everything.
You'd have a
there,
double bill with Darkest Hour and Dad's Army.
Yeah.
Actually, they've got Dunkirk. You could do all 3 of them.
That would be, an interesting... I don't think either of them would be a patch on Dunkirk.
Death of Stalin is what... No. I was going to watch it as my 3rd, but then I thought I'd save it for the ride back as well. Shape of Water's good. But yeah, so that's it. We've watched our films. Now I think it's a cool down period because we're less than 2 hours from landing. Probably some Simpsons episodes.
Might have to be some Simpsons. Yeah.
And I think we're getting a snack soon, so I'm excited because whatever they served us for lunch was pretty terrible.
It was disgusting, and well, let's not turn this into a terrible stand-up routine about airline food.
What's
but it was
the
awful.
deal with airline food?
The deal with my airline food was that it was a cheese sauce that had been watered down to within an inch of its life over some half-baked pasta with a quarter of a tin of chopped tomatoes on it, and it was horrible.
Scathing review there. Are we going to pick this up for a 3rd part at any point, do you think?
We could do in Dallas.
We could reconvene in Dallas.
Your outro music needs to be the theme tune from Dallas.
We can do that. We can do that. No one's going to take it down. No one listens.
See, but how can you consider 3 hours to be long when we've just done 10 hours? So?
I can't. I'd consider an hour drive long right now. Like a 3-hour flight seems like another, because by the time you sit there, you get loaded on, especially with the mental people that we've seen. Like, that's always a bit of process. You take off, you land, and then you have to go through all the process. At least we don't have to go through the custom stuff again, right? We could just get our bags and pop out in Palm Springs, and then hopefully try to stay up an hour or 2. So
it's
that
jacuzzi time, Frank.
Jacuzzi time. 2 dudes in a jacuzzi. Should we do a jacuzzi podcast?
We could do an addendum to the goodbye.
Yes. Best jacuzzi films, scenes in jacuzzis from a jacuzzi.
Well, it's Dumb and Dumber, isn't it?
That's
the end of that.
Start
discussion.
and finish.
Yeah.
Well, we can expand upon it.
Can't really think of
We could break it down minute by minute.
Austin Powers, maybe? Was that a cocktail? That's a jacuzzi.
I might just Google it when I get to the hotel.
Best films with a jacuzzi.
I feel like there's a couple.
There must
Election.
be yes. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Must be a James Bond film with a jacuzzi in it. I can't think of one, but there must be.
Well, we'll find all this out, and who knows? We might record something again. I doubt it. I think this will be the end of the podcast. So, you know what, Rob? Thanks for taking part in it.
Do you want to plug anything, Frank?
Do I want to plug anything?
I think you probably want to plug Filmageddon, don't you?
Filmageddon's a thing. We've not done one yet this year, but we will hopefully be doing one.
It's March, and you've not done one yet.
We've been very lax. I won't say we've been very lax. We've been trying to reinvent, and we're being very thoughtful on how we want to move forward with the quiz. We want to give it a new look, a new feel, and so we're not going to rush into anything and fall into the trap, but having a meeting, and hopefully Filmageddon will be back sooner rather than later.
And in the meantime, you can come to my music quiz at the Catford Bridge Tavern in Catford.
And when's the next one?
It's every month, but the next one is Monday the 16th of April. Follow us at CBT Music Quiz.
And is it always on Mondays?
It's always on Mondays, usually the first Monday of the month, but due to work commitments, it's in the middle of April. And the fact that the first Monday in April, I think, is Easter Monday anyway. So, it's 16th of April. Catford Bridge Tavern music quiz.
Should call it the Resurrection.
Yeah, well, it's the resurrection of the one I used to do at the Defectors Wells
So,
in Shepherd's Bush. So,
couple of Quizmasters here.
come to that. Follow that at CBT Music Quiz. Or
I've been to one of your music quizzes. I can say they're a fun evening and prizes and fun for all. Well, maybe not prizes for all, but
it's not about the prizes. It's about being good.
well, I'm not good, so it is about the prizes, the booby prizes.
The poopy prizes. And also, you can just follow me on Twitter at Robert C. Heath.
And what do you tweet about?
Things, films, sport, music.
You heard it here
politics.
first or second.
What do you tweet about?
Nothing anymore.
I've read your tweets. They're annoying, if anything,
Why are my tweets annoying?
because I don't understand them.
What
the chicken boys? I don't know what is this nonsense.
Mate, the Chicken Boys are the future of video gaming and esports.
Oh right, okay.
This is the world I live in now. Anyway, all right. Thank you, Rob. Maybe we'll do another one of these before the crazy 2 weeks in Palm Springs ends.
Definitely, at least one.
Desert films.
Yeah, lots of good ones. Lawrence of Arabia.
I'm not going to watch
The rest.
Lawrence of Arabia while I'm here.
Frank, what's your Twitter handle?
It's at Sinatra the Tank. And you can see my tweets about the Chicken Boys and more. All right.
There's a man opening a door.
And he's gone and we're gone. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.